They got all that. Okay.
So it's fat puffed, lighting air, and glider.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to go and let's do a couple of the phonemic awareness too, where we look and listen, echo, unblend, pull down sound pictures, add, take away, trade, switch, or repeat. Okay, here's your first one. Rake. A k.
Side curler, smiling yellow sound, and back to the
Okay, and if we have a consonant E, we have a consonant E, don't we?
Yes.
Okay, now here's the next one. If that's rake, show me shake. Sh, a, k. Okay.
Fat,
S-H-A-K.
Okay, it's just this one we won't have to spell.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if that shake, show me shale. Sh, a, o. Okay. If that shale, show me sail. S, a, o. Okay. If that sail, show me soil. S, oi, o. Okay. If that's soil, show me soy. S, oi. Okay. Good. Now, let's go to let's do a couple of the, where we write our spelling practice. We're on our spelling practice. So but before we do the spelling practice, let's talk about our diphthongs that we learned about yesterday. Okay, and if you listen, if I have, which one goes in the oi, remember oi, which one is it, the oi or oy that goes in the initial or medial? Oi. Okay, which one, then that means what goes in the final position? Oy, good. Now, let's look and listen, echo, unblend, pull down sound pictures, touch and spell, name and write, code and read. We're only going to do 3 of these, okay? Okay, here we go. Loin. Oi, Remember, we have to pull down our sound pictures. Pull down your sound pictures. Oi, Okay, now you're going to touch this.
L-O-I-N.
Okay. Okay. The next one is going to be ploy. Oi.
P-L-O-I-N.
Wait a minute. Wait. Listen to this. Listen, Emma. Ploy.
P-L-O-I-O-Y.
Yes. Remember, when the O, what goes in that final position, Emma?
O-Y.
O-Y. Okay. On our diphthongs, in the oi, the O-Y always goes in the final position. Okay. Now, here's the next one. Boy. Oi.
B-O-Y.
Okay. Now, let's do a sentence dictation. We're going to do a sentence dictation, and I want you to listen very carefully to me. I'm going to give you the sentence. I'm going to say it. Then we're going to echo it. Emma, I need for you to look at me. I'm going to say it first. Then you're going to echo it with me. And then if you have any questions, you can ask them then, and then you may write. Do not spoil the fun. Do not spoil the fun. Are there any questions? Do you have any questions? Okay, let's say it again. Do not spoil the fun. Okay, now you may write. Okay, good. Yes, good job. Let me see. What do we do? Okay, this is my fault because I didn't go over this with you, but what, in a sentence, what do we begin a sentence with? What do we begin a sentence? Capital letter, and we end it with what?
Punctuation.
Punctuation. Okay, so we begin with a capital letter and we end it with a punctuation.
I fixed it.
Okay. All right, let's put our notebooks up and we're going to do some reading. Okay, let's put this, why don't you put those sound trays up there? I'm going to keep you. Okay, we're going to read this book called Chickens. I don't want you to open it until I tell you to open it. Okay, let's look at the pictures on the front. Okay, and what do you see on the front of this book? What do you see, Emma?
One girl and two little boys.
Okay, we see there's a group of people on the front. And what is the title of this book?
Chicken Sunday.
Chicken Sunday. Now, we have, what kind of book do you think this is? Do you think this is fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
How do we know that it might be fiction?
We don't.
We don't know yet, do we? What are the things that tell us that a story would be fiction? If we open up this book, let's open up the book. And let's look at several of the pages. And if you think it's fiction, how do we know that a book is fiction?
It has crazy stuff in it, like there's some stuff that isn't real or talks about stuff that cannot happen.
Well, can we have realistic fiction where things
Yes.
really will happen, like in real life? But what are the things that tell us, what's the difference between fiction and nonfiction?
Nonfiction.
Wait a minute. Okay. What do you say that, what's the difference between fiction and nonfiction?
Fiction is like where it's not real, and nonfiction is where it is real.
How do we know the difference between the two when we look at this book? How do we know that this is a fiction book instead of a nonfiction? What are the things that tell us that?
When you're reading it, if you look at the page, if you read it and you and it says maybe that it was a Sunday long ago, and
Okay, but what else tells us that it's fiction?
if you look at the pictures, and sometimes it
Okay, sometimes the pictures might tell us, but what in the words tell us that it's fiction?
well, I don't know.
Do you?
It starts off if it's a fairy tale, it's once upon a time.
Okay, if it's a fairy tale.
Or start talking about some stuff like a unicorn or vampires. I don't know.
Okay, but like this looks like it could be a realistic fiction. How do we know this isn't a nonfiction? What are things, elements of a fiction book? Through the story, through the words of the story. What?
The way I know it could be realistic fiction because right now, looking at the pictures,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to church on Sunday and
Okay.
they're gonna have chicken for lunch.
Okay. Well, we can look at the title and say, well, yeah, this could be a realistic, but it's dialogue. When people talk to one another in a story, it means it's fiction. Why? Because what happens in a nonfiction? What is it telling us?
That one person tells a story.
No, in a nonfiction, What's the difference between fiction and nonfiction?
Nonfiction is where like no one's talking to each other in the book.
Okay, but what is fiction, nonfiction, what is it doing for us? It's just giving us a bunch of facts and information, isn't it?
Yeah.
It isn't it? And in the fiction, there's a dialogue, right? There's a setting, and there's a conflict, right?
Yes.
Yes, and then there's the problem is solved. There are a number of characters, right? Okay, and Emma's right. We can see from this that there is, the title is called what? Chicken Sunday, and there's a group of people and they're gathered together, and so we could say what?
They're going to church.
It
They
could be.
look all nice.
Okay, could be going to church because they look very nice. So we're predicting. That they're going to church because of the way they're what?
Dressed.
They're dressed.
Dressed. Yes, and from the title, because we have the word what that tells
Sunday.
it Sunday. And do people eat chicken on Sunday?
Not really,
They don't?
but they can.
Sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. We don't always eat chicken on Sunday, but
It depends what you want to have for lunch.
Okay.
Or something.
all right. Now, in the beginning of a fiction story, on the first couple of pages, what kind of information can we get?
What are the characters about? What are they talking about?
Okay, we get the
A lot of
characters. Yes, and what else would you get?
Like what's the setting, the plot?
Okay, the
time?
setting. Yes, the setting. So we get the setting, we get the characters, right?
The problem.
We can get the problem. Yes, we can
plot.
get the plot is all of that together. Yes. And so we get, in the very beginning, we get the characters, we get the setting, and then we get
time.
the conflict. Well, that's in our setting, right? Setting is not just a place, it's the time, okay? And where it's taking place. So what we're going to do is we're going to, first of all, I want Ella to read that first couple of paragraphs in the story. I want you to read this page for me, okay? Stuart,
and
sound out your words. Winston
Winston were my neighbors. They were my brothers by a
solemn ceremony
where
we had
performed in their black yard. One summer they weren't the same religion as I was. They were Baptist.
Mm-hmm.
Their grandmom
Eula May
Walker was my grandmom now.
Now that's a word you wouldn't know because that's babushka.
Babushka had died 2 summer before.
Okay, now, who did we learn about in that first paragraph? What are the characters that we just learned about, Emma, in that first paragraph? Who are the characters?
That the two boys.
I want the names. Just the names.
Stuart and Winston and
who else?
Babushka.
Well, Babushka had what? What happened to Babushka?
She died.
Okay, but so who was the other person?
The other person was
Eula.
And that's it.
Okay, now, so we know there was Stuart and Winston, and then we had the grandma Eula May Walker, right?
Mhm.
Yes, so we had those
And
three.
Babushka.
Okay, but Babushka had died. Okay, continue on to the end of that paragraph.
Sometimes my